appreciate if everyone can please hold your comments until after the entire presentation is over, because otherwise we will not be able to hear our panelists, our moderator, and of course you wouldn't be able to hear me. Thank you. I am Victoria Sarin, and I'm the newly elected co-president of the League of Women Voters of Palos, Orland area. For brevity, when I say LWVPOA or just POA, that's our local league chapter. On September 10th in Utah, just moments after Charlie Kirk was shot, we learned of another shooting which left 2 students injured at Evergreen High School in Colorado. Out of respect for the gravity of these events, I ask that you join me in a minute of silence. Thank you for taking a moment for reflection. This is not a left or right issue. Gun violence affects us all, no matter where you live or who you voted for. Every day we choose not to act makes all of our communities less safe. We have the answers to help save lives from gun violence. Common sense solutions include universal background checks, closing dangerous loopholes, and extreme risk protection orders to ensure guns don't fall into the hands of people who shouldn't have access to them. As some of you know, this is the League of Women Voters of Palos Orland area's general meeting, followed by a program of voter education. Both are open to the public. Therefore, before we begin, we have some business matters and a few announcements. This event is being recorded by Palos Heights TV4 as part of their commitment to the community. When ready, the video will be posted to their YouTube channel and links posted on the Palos Orland area Facebook, Instagram, and our new website. Scan the QR code on the colorful POA banner to reach our website. We ask that you refrain from taking photographs and audio recordings in this room before, during, or after the event without permission of your subject. In addition, please do not take videos, photos, or recordings in the Palos Heights Public Library and grounds without permission of the library officials. On the back tables, we have information about the League of Women Voters and some of our voter education programs. If you support a ban on foam food containers, blank petitions are available. Print your information, sign next to your name, and give the completed petitions to me or one of our other members who is distributing them. I will use this address to sort the petitions by legislative district before handing them over to League of Women Voters of Illinois for in-person delivery to your representative in Springfield next week. On another table, our moderator and author, Nikki Castellorzios-Lee, has made copies of her book, Good Digital Citizen, available for sale at a special price for today's event. In addition, also on the back tables, we have flyers for 2 special invitations. First, our local women in government invite you to a panel discussion demystifying public service in your community and beyond on October 13th at 11:30 in the Moraine Valley Business Conference Center. Today's panelists, Mayor Nicole Milovich-Walters, provided this information and will participate in that panel. Second, Zelda's Kitchen Witches, a local group we have supported in the past, and its founder, Janet Evans, a lead member, invite you to their annual luncheon on October 5th featuring a speaker on the dynamics of domestic violence. They will be honoring a mother-daughter team who support women in their journey to independence. Now for the League of Women Voters members and future members. New to POA are official name tags to be worn at the LWV POA events and returned at the end of each event. Please check in with Vice President of Membership Gail Greenwald or one of the other members with the badge before you leave if you do not see one for you to wear today. I am printing as fast as I can for new members, and I may have skipped over a couple people, so let me know. Next, we are looking for members who like doing behind-the-scenes work and don't mind data research. The League of Women Voters of Illinois is moving to Vote 411 for the primary on March 17, 2026. Vote 411 replaces the Illinois Voter Guide. It provides a comprehensive guide to your candidates and ballot measures. Please contact Vice President of Voter Services and Vote 411 Director, Liz Marlowe. Liz is here, she's in the back. If you would enjoy working from home on your computer. And in your League in Action app, LWV of the U.S. and LWV of Illinois have provided information on participating in peaceful protests. You can download the app from your app store. On September 20th, League of Women Voters Illinois will host Energize and breakout training sessions. All members are invited. Register for the virtual program at the lwvil.org website. Search for Energize. Now for all interested persons, members and non-members, on September 16th from 11 to 1, the League of Women Voters Palos Orland area will again provide voter registration services at Moraine Valley Community College in honor of National Voter Registration Day. On September 24th at 6:30 p.m., POA members Elaine Savage and Cheryl Gallagher will present our program on mis and disinformation at the Lamont Public Library District. Pick up a flyer on the table in the back. On October 1st, the POA Executive Board meets at 6:30 on Zoom. During National Voter Education Week, October 4th through 12th, POA will provide voter registration and information at Lush Cosmetics in Orland Square Mall. Qualified voter registrar members are wanted. Volunteers, please contact Director of Voter Registration, Director Joan Claridge. Joan, raise your hand so everybody can find her. Joan is in the back over here. For our general meeting and public event on October 11th, Voter Education Director Paula Coughlin has invited speakers to address issues in immigration at the Palos Heights Library, in person, a flyer to follow. During Active Aging, October, I think that's in, I omitted the dates, I think that's the 20th through the 23rd. Village of Orland Park, Mayor Dodge, is that the Active Aging, 20th through the 23rd?
Does that sound?
It does sound
I'm pretty sure.
I think we're close.
From 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the Village of Orland Park, you can check their website. Sportsplex. Member Mary Jo Harper will represent the League of Women Voters Palos Orland area and provide voter registration services at the information table. On November 5th, the full POA board meets at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom. For the general meeting and public event on November 8th, Voter Education Director Paula Coughlin secured Kate Donovan, PhD, to address fair maps and the proposed Illinois constitutional amendment for fair legislative districts. The event will be held here at the Palos Heights Library in person with a virtual presenter flyer to come. For information on League of Women Voters and any of these events, contact Elaine, myself, or write to palosorlandlwv@gmail.com. And finally, thank you for joining us today at today's voter education program. By doing so, you will receive information directly from the source rather than social media posts. When a post draws your attention, allow yourself a moment to be skeptical of the claim made. Examine the reasons behind it. If the post is controversial to you, try to find time to research the facts. Ask yourself what you would have done given similar circumstances. Recognize that decisions are made with the information available at the time. Give yourself credit for questioning and not accepting someone else's opinion too quickly. Be a good digital citizen. You are here today to listen and learn and form your own opinions. Good on you. Please continue to show respect and honor other people and their opinions. We welcome all groups of citizens working for the greater good of our community. Just say yes to civil discourse. At this point, our moderator, Nikki Castellanos-Lee, will begin the program. Nikki? Let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. We do have flags at the back of the room.
We have one right here.
Oh, we have one in the corner.
Yes, okay, everybody turn to the Yes.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent.
Good morning. I just want to echo a little bit of what Victoria introduced with recognizing the solemnity of this past week. as well as, the productivity of conversation that comes from a room with the forum. So we are asking everyone to kind of keep the volume low to help with the mics that are being broadcast to the television station and the YouTube channel, as well as just a general sense of letting everyone have their chance to hear and chance to speak. And we will be taking questions from the audience, if you think of one. Cheryl is walking around, there she is in the back there waving around. She is walking around with index cards and pens, so please jot your questions down and we will collect them and try and get through all of them toward the end of the session. Okay, but for now, welcome mayors. Thank you all for being here. Again, I am Nikki Castellarizios-Lee. I am the Director of Candidate Forums here at League of Women Voters, Palos, Orland, and the author of Good Digital Citizen, Everyday Ethics for an Intentional Digital Existence. I'm really grateful and honored to be your moderator for today's important conversation around ethics in our local government and community. We are here to focus on community leadership, civic trust, and the way that local government shapes our everyday lives. And at a moment where cities and villages face pressing challenges as well as new opportunities, especially with new technology and the digital space, this panel brings together 4 outstanding leaders who are guiding their communities with dedication and vision. Thank you, mayors. I'd like to briefly introduce them. In order by village, we'll start with Mayor Jim Dodge of Orland Park. Mayor Robert Straz of Palos Heights. Mayor Jerry Bennett of Palos Hills. And Mayor Nicole Milovich-Walters of Palos Park. That's okay, bring them. We love that. Each of these mayors brings unique insights from their municipalities. Together, they actually represent the strength and diversity of local leadership and what local leadership looks like here in Cook County as well as in Greater Illinois. And over the next hour, we'll explore their priorities, challenges, and approaches to ethics in governance. And we'll invite all of us, you the audience included, to reflect on what it means to lead a community in times of constant change, disruption, and limitless possibilities. And then later, of course, we'll open up the floor, as I mentioned, for your questions. So this dialogue will include your perspectives as well. Just want to spend a moment going over the general format so everyone kind of knows the flow of events. We have a handful of questions. We are going to go in reverse alphabetical order by last name to kind of keep things fresh and interesting. So I will let you know when your question is up. And so we will present each mayor the opportunity to answer with the floor first, and then after their answer sort of rounds up, we will offer an open panel discussion with follow-on questions for another 3 to 9 minutes. So 3 minutes for the initial response for the mayor, and then to follow another maybe 10 minutes or so conversation amongst the panel. So we want to keep this conversational and keep it really engaging. Okay, so before we begin, we won't jump straight to the questions, right? Let's get to know each mayor just a little bit better. Here we will go alphabetical order by last name. So we will start with Bennett. Thank you. I have a note here that I'm thinking I should have done it the other way, but let's do it. Okay, so that being said, each mayor, I'd like you to briefly share a key area focus for your administration's term in serving your community, as well as a fun fact or something that you'd like to share about yourself more personally. So, Mayor Bennett?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I guess I'll start out with a fun fact that I was elected alderman at the age of 28 and mayor at the age of 30. So my experience in local government goes a long way back. It's a pleasure to be up here with my fellow mayors who I believe over the years, shown leadership not only in our communities, but among ourselves in sharing and cooperating with very, very many different things that go on. I think, I don't know how long I have, but certainly...
3 minutes. You're good. You are fine.
To try to brief I'm in my 45th year. To try to go over 45 years of local government in a short 3-minute period is pretty disingenuous. But other than to say that on the topic of ethics and going forward, I think growing up in a family of 13 brothers and sisters, I learned at a young age the meaning of ethics, the meaning of respect, and that goes a long way, obviously, as a mayor of a community. Respect of your fellow aldermen, respect of the community, respect of the diversity of a community, respecting their thoughts, their anxieties, and trying to deal with it on a daily basis. I won't get into the ethics thing because that will be part of the question, I think, in general. But I think one of the things that I've enjoyed over the years, not only being mayor of Palos Hills, but I sit on 5 boards throughout the metropolitan area. The Southwest Conference of Mayors, the Southwest Central Dispatch, the Metropolitan Mayors Caucus, the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, and then finally the Illinois Municipal League. I've been honored and over that period of time to have chaired, and I still chair 3 of those organizations. I'm also on the board of directors of the other 2. So my interaction not only in my community and trying to expand and go beyond, as I've always said, no community is an island, and I certainly believe that at an early age, the need to go out and seek advice, seek help from other communities, not only in the Southwest area, not only in the metropolitan area, but also in the entire region, and along with the state of Illinois, which I've had great encounters over the years. So it's been a pleasure not only being mayor, but bringing back that experience and knowledge to my community to try to improve it, both on the financial side, on the operational side, as we move forward in a digital age, to create, again, different opportunities for our residents to be part of, whether it's through law enforcement, whether it's through our rec and park department, and certainly through the administration of my office, to bring knowledge and understanding of how we go forward in a community, building upon that with all the staff in my department heads of the city, in understanding what we're here for. We're here to serve the people of our community. That is the #1 priority. I've always kept that in the back of my head, why I'm up there every year, why I've been allowed to be elected and honored to be elected over a period of time, is earning that respect of our residents and how we're going to go about in the future.
Mayor Dodge.
All right, so officially, Jerry is a tough act to follow, just so we're all clear. But there's a couple things that the mayor said that are absolutely relevant to what we're trying to do in Orland Park, which is civility. Right? That's one of the things that we ran on to try and bring that back into a public discourse. You're there to serve, and I don't know if this is a fun fact or just a fact. I just recently completed the Edgar's Fellows program, and Governor Edgar was there, and he made a very strong point about the 3 C's, as he calls them, which is civility, compromise, which sometimes is a pejorative term these days. People don't like that idea, but also compassion. And in all of that, he made a great case for, if you run for office, you kind of have to keep 2 questions in front of you, which is, why did you run? It's to serve. And then you're there to solve problems. So if you keep those front and center with what you do every day, and you have access to folks, like the folks to my left here, who really know what they're doing. One of my first official meetings was with Mayor Bennett. I've known him for many years, because I've been in Orland Park for a while. And he was gracious with his time and gracious with his understanding of what it's like to be in the position of mayor versus a position of trustee that I had before. So that was welcome. And what I hope everybody sees is that a lot of us talk to one another. We're not in competition, right? We're there to learn from each other and try and do the best things we can for our community. And it's really important, and I've seen this with the other mayors, you respect your town, what it is, what it isn't, what it wants to be, but you also respect other towns. Orland is not Tinley, Tinley's not Palos, et cetera. You guys know where I'm heading with that one. And so it's been great to be mayor so far. As a trustee for a number of years, nothing has surprised me so far. It's just the number of problems that I'm finding and how we're going to do it. We've got a number of challenges Orland Park needs to address, mostly around financial. But a question we're posing to ourselves is simple, which is, how do you do the greatest good for the greatest number? And when I've said that to voters and I've said it to citizens, that doesn't imply your decisions are perfect. It doesn't imply that your decisions everybody agrees with, but you really do have a level set of trying to do the greatest good for the greatest number, which is what we're working on. And then the other hard question, maybe some of the mayors will touch on this later, which is how much local government do you want and how much are you willing to pay for it? Because I don't know if there's any Orland residents here, but raise your hand if you want to pay more taxes. All of a sudden, hands drop. And so that's always the fine art of being in government. And if you're open-minded and if you're civil and you're trying to serve, those things come together by asking the right questions and then being open, which again, I just want to underscore. I agree with a lot of what Mayor Bennett had to say. So thank you.
Okay, Mayor Milovich-Walters.
Oh, I assumed I was last. I apologize. Well,
I was gonna say,
I know, I was going by town in my head.
I know, I have various orders, so thank you for your grace.
Well, like Mayor Dodge and Mayor Bennett, they were alderman and trustee. Our town has a commission form of government, so I was what was called a commissioner for 16 years. So I had a lot of time to really watch, and I had the pleasure of being supported by the former Mayor John Mahoney, who's here today, again, still supporting me, to guide me into stepping into the role as mayor. And I would go with him to the Southwest Conference Mayors meetings where Mayor Straz and Mayor Bennett would be. And so I really got to put myself in and learn so much long before I decided to run for mayor. You asked what our areas of focus are. So one was during that 16 years, the council with the former mayor, we really built up our fund balance so that we have more than 50% of our general fund in reserves in case of emergency. So that was really, took a long time, and I'm continuing to do that, but also our infrastructure program. We've done a lot of road projects. We're in the middle of redoing the water system with Oak Lawn and our lift stations to take that nasty wastewater away. We invest a lot of money into that, and my former position was Commissioner of Streets, Water, and Recreation. So you can guess my other thing that I love are our parks. So 2 years ago we had a new playground rebuilt. Then we redid our tennis courts to include pickleball courts. And now later this year, an outdoor fitness court is coming to our community. And so that probably leads into a fun fact that I kind of love exercise. So I do a lot of things with recreation because of that, my passion as well. And then the other thing we've been focusing on was the sense of community, because we had such a divisive election when I was running for mayor that it felt like everyone was divided, and we were really trying to bring everyone back together, created some different committees, got everyone filling all our boards, and I think that's made a big difference in the 2 years I've been mayor. And I just would say that if I took time to reflect on this when we got your question, and my dad was a veteran of the Korean War, and he instilled in us duty and service and community engagement, and ever since I was young, that was what I knew that we were supposed to do. So I was a Girl Scout, and then I was on student council, and then became a lawyer, so but that really just took me through my life, why I get so involved in community and why I want to give back. And my fun fact, besides being an exercise enthusiast, is I'm a certified advanced water scuba diver.
That's great. Thank you so much, Mayor. Okay, and last but not least,
Thank you.
Mayor Straz.
I think to kind of tell you where I'm coming from, you have to go back, say, 25 years ago when I first ran for office and as mayor. Our town was in disarray, shall we say, from a political standpoint. Those of you who were out here back then remember that. We had council wars going on. We had, just to give an example of what was kind of situation we had, I happened to, at that time I was president of the Chamber of Commerce, and I had to go to a council meeting, which I very rarely ever went to. I was not politically active at all. And so I went to the meeting, I think we were asking for a variance or something for the chamber, and I see two young gentlemen sitting in their front seat, and they happen to be college students, or high school students from Marist that I knew, because my son went there, and and one of them happens right now actually his father was a Secret Service agent in Chicago here, and then the boy, I won't say his name, you know him, he is a U.S. attorney downtown now. And I said, what are you doing here, guys? I mean, they're high school kids coming to a city council. Mr. Straz, we're here to see him fight. I mean, that's not the kind of thing you want to teach young kids in high school about city government. So, that kind of got me thinking, as I said, I had not been in politics. I had been the president of the chamber. I was on St. Al's over next door here, the first pastoral council. I'm still actively involved in the Sir Thomas Starr Center. I have been for 45 years, and Rotary. And I like to get back to the community. So I ran, and I ran against the existing mayor and an alderman, and I got 65% of the vote. So that kind of tells you, where we were as far as government was back then. But my key point was, besides that, we were also broke. We didn't even know it. I mean, we had $250,000 in our general account that we had borrowed from the water and sewer account. So what I did is I set up a system of having professional managers. I mean, we've hired people. We didn't hire somebody because you knew somebody, because you were qualified. You had the background, the education. And we've taken that in the last 25 years, we've run at a surplus. I mean, we've turned it around, and that's the whole idea. And that's allowed us to spend money on capital projects. We also are almost approaching over 60 years old in the town, and the infrastructure is starting to, the water and sewer especially, are starting to feel the needs. And well, we've been fortunate that we have, every year we now have a policy where we keep X% of our operating costs in the general account. The balance goes to capital expenditures accounts. And our CIP program, we've got like $12 million set aside for road programs and water and sewer for the next couple of years. So that's what we've done. So the whole thing is planning. But what I can say more so that I believe in, it's more about what you bring as personal experience as opposed to what your personal interests are. You don't do this for the paycheck. You don't do this, I mean, I'm trying to get close to minimum wage. I didn't see the stop sign, so I'll end. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We are going to kick off the panel discussion. Mayor Straz, we are going to start with you. We're going to go reverse alphabetical order on this round, so to keep things again interesting and fun. And thank you to you as well as to the library team for hosting us today. We are appreciative. Okay, well, everyone's going to be, I think, waxing a little philosophical this morning, so let's dig in. Ancient Chinese philosopher Confucius believed that ethical governance begins with self-discipline and moral character at the individual level. What does ethics in government mean to you personally, and how has that definition evolved over your career, if at all?
Well, being a Southsider, I think it kind of threw me off with Confucius. My idea of a philosopher is George Wendt, but that's another. But I think believing in doing the right thing. I don't do this for personal gratification, and if that's what you're doing it for, you shouldn't be doing this. It's all about helping others, either solve a common problem or reach a better goal. Ethics to me, my basis is I believe in God, and I believe in doing what's right. Some people that's not good to say, but unfortunately, or fortunately in my case, I think that's very important. The morals drive my decisions, and I try to help people. I'm a firm believer in compromise. Not everybody's right. My city attorney, who also happens to be a mayor of East Hazel Crest for years, approaching Jerry's time in office, said, when you try to make everybody happy, neither side becomes happy, because everybody's just mad. So sometimes you have to sit back and say, hey, it's not going to work for you, but this is why we're doing it. We're doing it this way, for the best interest of everybody. And so that's the hard thing. But again, it comes down to doing not for yourself. I mean, my whole background has been public service. I've tried, I believe that you've got to get back to the community. Quite frankly, that's a problem we have right now. I mean, any of you who are involved in any kind of civic clubs or social organizations, I mean, I'm involved in the in Orland, now called Orland Palos Rotary Club. And at one time, we met every week. We had 75 members. If we can get 20 people now, that's a lot. And now we're talking about, instead of meeting once a week, which we did, and that was great because you got to meet each other and get problems solved. We had a questionnaire come out the other day about, do you want to meet once a month now, or do you want to meet in the morning or night? You know, so things have changed, and I'm not picking on young people, but they have different priorities, and it's not necessarily, you know, you look in the room here, how many people we have here under 40 years old? You know? Yeah, what I mean? And who are truthful, but I mean, you don't see that. You know, you just don't see involvement, and that's a shame. And I don't know where that comes from. I talk to so many people who have the same quandary, but no one has an answer that we really come to. So again, that's kind of where I'm coming from on that.
Thank you. Okay, so now I'll open up discussion with a couple of follow-on questions and thoughts to the panel. Again, this is conversational, so anyone can sort of jump in. Are existing ethics oversight bodies, training programs, policies in your municipalities sufficient? If not, what might be missing? And then by extension, is there a common conflict of interest in government or a potential ethical blind spot that even the most well-intentioned leader will miss? Anybody want to kick things off?
If I can, I think it starts at the top. I learned that years ago, that you lead by example. And if that example is trying to develop a strong ethical base, not only with how I operate the city, but also with those underneath me, department heads all the way down to employees. I think if they see leadership acting in that manner, it is contagious, and it should be. And I think in our town, I'm very proud of that. I think all of our department heads and our employees know that the buck stops back up at me, but it goes back down to them if they're not following what I consider to be a base of ethical conduct. And that's not only in the operation of the city, but in their dealing with our local residents.
Great.
I agree with you, Jerry. And additionally, I would say when you were talking about training and oversight bodies, one of the great things was the Illinois Municipal League. They really make these things available to all the communities so that we're all doing kind of the same thing, and then we can share with each other what works and what doesn't work. And that's been the beauty of such a great working relationship with all our communities around us, I would say.
I think one thing sometimes we forget is that as a municipality, we're here to provide service. You know, I mean, that's we're selling services to people, and that's what you talk to your employees about. Make sure you know, the staff, they, you know, and that's by example, as we said earlier. You know, say if somebody calls, respond to them, okay, and give them the service they're looking for. Some things that may happen inadvertently, though, to transparency, just to answer that one question, is the Open Meetings Act. With the advent of emails especially. I think all too often people, and especially like elected officials, really inadvertently send an email out to everybody asking for a response back and realizing, hey, that could be a violation of the Open Meetings Act. It's not intentional, but it does happen from time to time. So it's call attention to it.
I'll pivot off of that point. There's a lot of laws and rules that are in place for all of us, so I think that's just your governing legal technical structure, but it's the softer side of what are you modeling as leaders of a board, mayor, trustees, councilmen, et cetera. And you have to make it clear, and it's a great point you raised, Bob, which is we are a service provider. We're not here to debate the great philosophical issues of the day. It's about the police, it's about the parks, it's about the performance of streets. So within that, you follow the rules, you model the behavior, be responsive. I sometimes am driving, I'm the newest mayor up here, so I'm trying to get a lot of the staff in Orland Park to start understanding exactly what I mean when I say, did you talk to the customer today? Now, I deliberately choose the word customer as opposed to taxpayer or resident, just to be gently provocative. to get people to understand there's a different mindset if you are truly care about service. And then from that cascades in multiple directions of how best to serve. And then it quickly becomes, okay, let's do this in a thoughtful, intelligent, open, transparent way. Then ethical issues just sort of melt at that stage. You're doing the right thing in full public view.
Great response. Great responses all around. I think that what we're seeing a lot in the digital era is this customer-obsessed mindset, and it's transcending traditional services you might think of, like restaurants and things like that. But of course, into civic settings and even in professional services companies and other corporations. If you think of each person you're working with as that customer and trying to give them the best possible experience, I think to your point, you're going to come out ahead. So anyway, thank you. Great responses, everyone. All right, we'll move on to the next question. Okay, so this one's going to you, Mayor Milovich-Walters. Okay. I know you took a philosophy class in college, you told me that.
So long ago.
It's okay. All right, so moving ahead a little bit, English Enlightenment philosopher John Locke emphasized that governments exist by the consent of the governed and must serve the common good. In modern governance, where public policy often reflects competing interests, how do we ethically balance individual rights, like property, privacy, with the collective good? And how can public institutions strike a balance between transparency and operational needs and confidentiality? Big questions. Big questions.
Lots going on there.
Yes.
Right? Well, to start, balancing personal property rights with the privacy rights, you just have to keep in mind that you're trying to do what's best for the community in general. And I find it's very important to listen to everyone that's involved and hear everything that they're saying so that you can see the whole picture. A good example of something like this is, we have a noise ordinance. Yeah. So somebody wants to have a party at their home, but somebody else wants to go to sleep at 10 o'clock. And so, how do you balance? Well, I'm allowed to have a party. This is my house, my property. But it's my house, and I want peaceful enjoyment. I want to go to sleep. Well, that's why there's a noise ordinance. So certain things are common sense like that. I try to apply what we learned in law school was the reasonable person standard. What would a reasonable person think is right? And that's what we try to apply to the group as a whole, because that's who we're representing, is everyone. As far as transparency versus confidentiality, it is obviously very important, especially in this day and age when everyone wants to know everything and wants immediate access to all the information whenever they want it. Being transparent is very important. You don't want to give the appearance that you're hiding anything. However, there are certain times that as a municipality, you can't put everything out there, whether it be, there might be a potential for a lawsuit with the village. That can't go out there until that's closed or finished. Or if you're acquiring property or things like that. But I think if you keep remembering why you are thinking that needs to be kept private at the moment, and it's not just a decision that I make alone. I have a council for other people, plus our village manager and our village attorney. They help us make sure when it needs to be out there and when it shouldn't. And we've been doing things like for the past year and a half, we've been rewriting our zoning code. We brought in a consultant. We put our plan commission on it and our zoning board, and they've met once a month for over a year reworking this code. Why? Because we want it to be easier for the residents to read and understand when they need to address a zoning issue. And that's all been made available and it's open to the public to show up. And so I think people need to avail themselves of those tools that we're giving them, that they are there for them to access instead of just going to some random social media page. Go to your municipality's website. Pretty much, I'm going to guess, all the information is there that anybody would want to find. So that's
I would add to that, there's relatively few things that you can't immediately release to the public. If you're in very sensitive negotiations with a development sort of thing, you know, you have to finish the negotiation before you can release it. Or, you know, quite frankly, deep or sensitive personnel file matters, right? There's reasons that's in the law of Illinois that you operate under. And so, yeah, Nicole, I feel your pain with the noise ordinance. We're having a flare-up right now over flag displays on mailboxes. And the standing ordinance that was adopted 5 or 6 years ago was you can't have flags within the right-of-way or within 10 feet of the property lines. Fairly reasonable approach. Mailboxes are in the right-of-way. And so one neighbor called on the other neighbor, then half the block got ticketed. And so, you know, it's just there's a balance between, God bless you for your right to display whatever flag you want. We all support that. You just can't do it in the right-of-way. So it's trying to strike those balances where your freedom of expression, your property rights, all that's codified, but you also have to be mindful of the impact on your neighbors. All of these things have, the fancy word is externalities. If I'm having a noisy party, I create an externality where I'm bothering a neighbor, right? And so that's what you try and balance at the local level within, you know, long-running good ideas like the balance of your rights versus governmental interference. So you'd be surprised at how these big picture philosophical issues get visited down on a field notice of correction for a flag on a mailbox. But there you have it. Welcome to municipal government.
Thank you. Okay, any other follow-ons to that?
Well, in many cases, you know, laws themselves were passed for a specific reason, and not necessarily to punish, but to regulate. Just for example, in our town, which I'm sure in all your towns, or maybe not, but you can't have overnight parking, okay? It's not meant to ticket somebody who has having their driveway redone and get a park in front of their house. I mean, somebody would call on that, I'll be honest with you. They will call on that. But the idea is so that people don't, you know, always park on the street. You know, we don't want street parking as a general rule. So that's what it's there for. So the law is there to help make things better, but not necessarily to be enforceable. My idea of government should be invisible. I mean, government should really just work. You know, we shouldn't be there and handing out tickets and doing this and this. Just flow with it, you know, and get things done under common sense and get it done. You know, we don't need to be visible and enforcement and heavy-handed as far as things such as that. So.
Just a final comment or follow-up, and I think, as all mayors have indicated, that you know the difference between, or I should say, what has taken place over the year on a legal basis, the laws that have been passed by the state of Illinois, whether it's sponsored by the Illinois Municipal League for us to suggest better ways, is certainly the Open Meetings Act, the Freedom of Information Act, which has taken place, has really opened up the door for a lot of people questioning, and they should, things that go on in local government. There is, you know, not necessarily the fine line, but the legal line about also protecting personal rights and interests of your own citizens. You can only go so far with that. I think today people demand, want to know even more so, everything that goes on. We get a police call or there's an incident in town that involves the police department. You know, they're going to be calling your alderman or me and say, what's going on? And before an incident has even been resolved or in the middle of an investigation, we'll get into another topic about media and certainly communications with digital communications. So that, you know, it's something that I think over a period of time you get to the position of knowing, you know, where the line, you know, begins or ends, where the gray line is or where the black or white line is. And I think, again, that's part of the communication ethics of your own department heads and staff that are working for you in the city, that they understand that too, that there are also rights. You're trying to help a situation, but there's also other rights that may be infringed or legally you know, subject them to concern. That you've got to understand that, and that challenge it grows each day. It grows each year. Again, as people want more and more information, certainly things that they're entitled to, but crossing the line between what is private and what is public is something that, again, is through experience and certainly through the operations of your city, you try to make that line very clear.
Thank you, Mayor Bennett. I think you alluded to a very important aspect of this now in the digital era is the use of digital space, platforms, and especially social media to very quickly propagate information, and sometimes, of course, that can have very negative results. So that's an important insight. All the responses are great. Thank you so much. I do want to just offer a reminder to the audience, if you have questions you'd like to ask the mayors, we will take questions. So raise your hand. We'll give you an index card, and we'll get to those toward the end of the event. Okay? All right, so we will move on. Okay, Mayor Dodge, your question. American contemporary philosopher Hannah Arendt warned of the banality of evil, how unethical outcomes can arise not necessarily from the obvious malice, but from thoughtless compliance. How can government institutions guard against unethical behavior that stems either from indifference or a blind following of rules? And, by extension, how do we create a culture of accountability where whistleblowing is encouraged and not punished?
I think that the historical context for that comment was pretty severe, so it just we'll bring that back in terms of banality of evil. She wrote that. I think we've made progress as a civil society towards just the essence of your question. Here's why. As the other mayors have alluded to, there's a lot more information that is readily available. So the good news is with the FOIA laws, with the Open Meetings Act, with transparency, I think you'll find a lot of governments are committed to making information readily available. One small example. In Orland, we publish our agendas on Friday, and it's online, and any citizen can see exactly the same information the Board of Trustee and Mayor will see for the vote. The staff report, the attachments, who won the bid, the whole, it's all out, it's just pushed out there. And so I think that to avoid a governmental entity just sort of walking along and listening to the things, and then you wind up with a negative effect, which is what the question is.
Right.
I think we've made a lot of progress, and I think we'll make more progress as you see more towns adopt artificial intelligence to push information out there. So I'm encouraged by that. The biggest challenge that I've seen, and I first got elected last century, so I don't have to date myself, as clerk in Orland Park, a lot has changed with the free flow of information, but simultaneously, you're seeing a wholesale degradation of trust in government generally. And so there's a balance point that I don't yet think our society has gotten to with, do you trust, and are you verifying, to kind of paraphrase a Reagan quote from back in the day, where the information is there. You might not agree with the decision, but all the information you need to feel comfortable that your governmental unit is working in the best interests of the town, not necessarily you, to the points we've made. And so I think we're getting closer, and I'm hopeful that, quite frankly, Illinois law catches up with those of us that want to disclose more readily available online, because that technology is really close to being ready. So will Illinois law adapt? Would love to see that change, and that's something I think all of us could work on through the IML to keep making sure we're knocking on the door in Springfield, because they architect the laws we operate under. And then you have some room to maybe improve or enhance your ethics ordinance. That's a work in progress.
Great point. Thank you for that. Any follow-on comments or ideas there?
I think in our case, just as Jim said, we have everything on our website today. Before, as far as the meetings, every committee we have has their agendas published, the minutes published. You can go back historically years and get information if you need it. We have our budgets, we have our annual financial reports. Just everything that we need. I'll be honest with you, some cases people will say, why didn't you tell us something? And 99% of the time, it's not because we're trying to withhold something. It's because we just didn't think it was important. I mean, if you deal with something on an everyday basis, you don't really think sometimes things are important, but to some residents they are, and it's not making excuses. It's just the reality of it. We're not trying to hide. There's really, I think we may have the wrong people here if you're thinking about hiding, ethics here. We're the kind of people who show everything. I think that's really what it's all about, is letting people know. I mean, the reason we have Channel 4 in Palos Heights is basically because of the League of Women Voters back when I talked about the council wars. One of the byproducts is that we started broadcasting all of our city council meetings so that people could actually see what was going on.
A lot of popcorn got sold.
Yeah, shit. I mean, it was kind of the stuff where, people would, you hear read it in the paper, but again, it's never biased in the paper, but it was reporting what was going on. Here, they could see firsthand what was happening. So, I mean, maybe they had a lot to do with the election. But but that's a byproduct of it. In fact, we have open government. We have all our meetings themselves on videotape or broadcast actually on YouTube now all over the country, for that matter, if they want to see. And a lot of towns do, not just us.
Yeah,
Good.
I was gonna say, we both do.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that, the old days of meeting in back rooms, that's been long gone. I mean, we cannot meet unless it's in a public body for public viewing, so to speak. And I think in bringing up the comment about how far can we go, I think, again, it's a changing world, it's a changing technology, and we're trying to do our best. When you mention about people saying, well, I don't know, well, first of all of us, I think all of us, certainly all of us, everything we have is on that website, and we encourage people to go to the website and find out. Some people want it easier. We can't help that. We have Facebook pages. We have other means to try to get out. I mean, we're almost at a stage now where we haven't yet, but an instant email that goes out to everybody in town if they want to give up their emails. But I think the point being made here by the mayor is that transparency is certainly at the top of our list, is how we operate our government, especially financial. That has changed so much over the last 10 years. Everything a municipality does financially is on a city website. In fact, it's required by law. So from that standpoint, the transparency within your employees about whistleblowers, whatever, I want to know. I want to know whether I hear from a citizen, from an employee, or whoever, that something's not kosher, and I will look into it immediately. We try to look into it immediately, try to resolve it. It's not going to get hidden. The last thing I think any mayor up here wants to do is certainly be accused of certainly not following up on a complaint, whether it's ethical or even beyond that, about just an employee treating somebody wrong. That comes to our attention, and I want to know right away, and I want to address the issue right away. So it's not a perfect government, but trust me and believe me when I say that we try our best to resolve every problem in the world that could be out there.
Addressing the accountability portion of it, when I became mayor, one of the things that I did was I created something called Connect with the Council. And it was a way for people to show up once a month, but it's not recorded. Because if you're at a village council meeting, a lot of people are a little nervous to stand up and say, hi, my name's Nicole, I live at blah, 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 and I don't like this that you're doing. And then be on YouTube all over the country. So by creating this, people have come and they can tell me great ideas that they have that maybe they want to share, but they're kind of nervous about it, or if there is something wrong. And then I have tried to make myself so accessible to all our residents. If they reach out through email or leave a message, I reach back out and I leave my office and come back to the village and meet with them in person, because I feel it's so important for everyone that is my resident feels that I'm reachable, so that if there is a problem, I did have a resident recently say, oh, so-and-so came by, and they said that the one tree was dead, and it was going to be taken out to fix, the water flow here. They took down the wrong tree, and they were really upset. Well, it turns out that tree was dead anyway, but it still was the wrong tree.
Sure.
What do? We got out there, we got a team out there, and we said, okay, here's what we're going to do. What do you think about this? And we're going to replant 5 trees instead of that one. They were more than happy. We fixed the water flow problem. It is taking responsibility and being there, and this whole thing about not knowing what's going on, sometimes it's very, very frustrating. You want people to come to your village website. That's where all the information is. And then, like you said, we got Facebook, and we've got Instagram, and we have what's called e-news. Once a week, we email. If you've given us your email, you're getting the information. And still, when we got rid of vehicle stickers, people said, I didn't know you got rid of vehicle stickers. Why'd you get rid of vehicle stickers? I mean, we talked about it at the meeting. It was on the YouTube. It was on Facebook. And it's wow, well, we were really Let me explain it one more time, but if you just went to our page, you would know. So I think really trying to get people to avail themselves of all the tools that are out there for them, instead of looking to random Facebook page that isn't verified, doesn't necessarily tell you the truth. We're all being transparent, we're sharing everything, so.
Just want to follow up, and I think what's important to all of us, and we know that, is the members of our city council who represent the wards and/or districts, depending on them too, that if they've built trust up in their various wards and districts, where people, feel comfortable calling them, and again, that goes back up the chain and getting resolved through my office or department heads, that's so critical. So it's not just a single mayor, it's certainly the other representatives that are on the city council. They can also, and I think do, help and assist in trying to communicate, solve problems. But it's also typical, too, that relationship sometimes becomes real good, that if they see a crime in the city, they're calling the alderman, and then they have to call the chief, and we always tell people, if you see it, call 911, please. It's eliminating so many minutes, hours, if not days. We'll have people call 2 days later, hey, you know what, I saw something, and anyway, so part of the communication process is a team. It's the whole team.
Yeah, it matters, and you want the two-way dialogue between your residents, your customers, and the board, because you have to have the inputs. If you're going to be a high-performance service organization, I'll use the $5 terms, you really do have to get the input from multiple sources. And I've long called local politics the jewel level of politics, because if it's not going well, you're hearing about it on Saturday morning when you're at the jewel.
That's great. Well, thank you for all those great responses. And as someone who's in the communications profession, I can totally appreciate and commiserate the lack of awareness sometimes, even to your greatest effort and intention, that you're putting it on multiple channels and you're distributing it at the best times that you think the people are paying attention. But alas, sometimes it just doesn't get across. And I hear in your responses the sort of duality of social media, right? You're talking about them as excellent opportunities for channeling information and for sharing and granting access. On the other side, there's a risk, right, with the use of, say, unverified information. And so that kind of takes us to our last question, which, Mayor Bennett, I'll direct at you. American historian and technological philosopher Melvin Kranzberg reminds us that technology's impact depends on how, where, and by whom it's applied. As governments increasingly rely on algorithms and AI systems, who should be accountable for ensuring that digital tools serve public interest rather than amplify harm or bias? And how can we ensure that digital communication spaces, platforms, tools promote transparency, inclusion, and deliberative democracy rather than polarization? Big question.
It's a challenge I think we've commented on, and as we go forward, the technology continues to be changing at a rapid pace. We start internally with our operations as to the technology available as a tool to make us operate our local governments as best we can, whether that's from a financial standpoint, whether it's from a technology standpoint with, for example, the police department, body cameras and recording of that information. So as laws change to regulate certain items in the communicative process, we have to be cognizant of that. And I think at all times, if I'm unsure, I will contact our city attorney. And certainly if you've got a good city attorney who is up to date on every, new law that's been passed, he will give that type of advice, especially on the communicative side and information that goes out. Again, it has to be factual. It should be factual. The comments coming back off of that may not be, but as they say, you've got to stick to the script. What is legal, what is right, what is said is appropriate, and certainly not crossing that border again of some type of personal comment or personal information that is not really legal. Number one, and I think as we go along, the technologies that are out there, we've got to be very careful, whether it's even AI, as they keep talking about right now. That is a territory that's unknown and certainly can be frightening as to what you're seeing in the private sector and what's going on, certainly on Facebook and all these other media sources where, the information out there, the pictures out there aren't true. They're made up. So we have to be very careful on our part as local government that, we are going about what is certainly legal, and certainly the technologies that are out there that have been studied, that have been processed, that have been assured that you're not stepping into a landmine of how you go about communicating again to various people. The best way is pick up a phone and call. The best way to respond, certainly, first of all, is the truth, and you back that up with facts that you have, within your ability to provide people. It's, I want to call it scary times. I've been around a long time, but it is changing so fast. And what is, I think, disturbing, and I think the mayors can also speak about that, is the good and the bad, the freedom of the media sources out there. You may state something that's very true, factual, and you can't stop somebody from their basement, getting up on Facebook or getting on a computer and just absolutely libeling somebody, certainly even the city, about information that they construed to be something else, and putting out misinformation. I think the challenge, we all can agree to that, the challenge of us is whether we address every piece of misinformation that comes back at us. I'm one for not getting into a battle on Facebook with, facts that are untrue. You're never going to convince that person, I think. The face-to-face meeting is still the best. Come in and see me, come in and talk to me, or department head, or find out the facts. But that challenge is going to be very, very critical going forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go
This
ahead.
is an area that's near and dear to my heart, and we were having a conversation the other day with Google. And Google's doing some really interesting things with, as they call it, agentic AI, where you can do some pretty advanced things. But let me give you a simple example. Our certified financial audits, required by law, where the auditors come in and say, yes, this is a true representation of your financials, they're 800 pages long. So it's perfect to train an AI agent to go through it and come up with an answer. But I can virtually guarantee you that if you said, tell me how much debt the Village of Orland Park has, there's probably 5 working definitions of our total debt load in those 800 pages. Now, good luck trying to do that for the last 20 years, each with 800 pages. So the good news is the information is available and out there. The bad news is the technology's not yet at a place where we could ask a simple question. How much debt per household do you hold as a town? How much are you paying on your pensions? All those questions that people would like to know about their municipal government are not yet easy, but I'm personally hopeful someday we'll get there. Point number one. Point number two, okay, state of Illinois, what are the technical rules you want us to operate under to protect the privacy of your employees, the rights or the presumption of privacy to people who are engaging government, let alone, any protection around sensitive information when you're in a highly complex negotiation. Nobody needed to see that the water system costs $300 million. Right? So there's these balance points, and from a process perspective, they take a while to work through because you have to, by definition, as servants of the people in government, consider every point of view before you take a decision, even if maybe only 70% of the people who are impacted appreciate your decision. And so AI is simply a tool to get there. There's a lot of complexities with that technology, but like I said, I'm hopeful we can train these things to be better. But a key point, without referencing the Terminator movie too much, you have to keep humans in the loop. These systems have faults. These systems have problems. You're never done training an AI model to be good at what you ask it to do, so you have to have a process and thoughtful people to help vet what it does and if it's doing it well. And then back to the phone call. Jerry's exactly right. I want a citizen, a resident, a customer to call up and say, hey, I asked this simple question and your AI gave me a crazy answer. Let me look at it. That human piece is really critical. I can't emphasize that enough, even with the advanced technology.
Excellent.
We're like, maybe AI, GPT, is that how it's called?
ChatGPT, yes.
I ask a question to help you get rolling. We're not at that point yet. We're not using it. We want that phone call, just like you said. We want you picking up the phone and calling. And when you were talking about Facebook and the misinformation out there, we have a village Facebook page and I have a mayor Facebook page. Like, if you if you send me a message there or post something there, I will respond. But on every other Facebook page, when somebody's posting, well, the village did this or they did that, I'm not responding, because once you respond once, the expectation is that you're gonna have to respond every time. And you're right, you cannot prove to them that they're wrong. And so, why not just go to the source? Come to your municipality and get the answer. What are we trying to hide? Everything is out there, why would we hide it from you? So, I think you can't stress that enough, and,
I mean, there's a lot of benefits to technology and the like, I mean, whether it be your billing systems within your own municipalities. For one thing, you think about the postage stamp now is $1. If I can send out everything directly on the internet, why not do that? That saves me time and effort. The fact that when it's done through electronically, in many cases, you don't have a clerk taking a payment and putting it under, a piece of paper. It's all recorded. So things that's what we need them for. We need it to save the money, to save the taxpayers. I mean, and that's and to run more efficiently. I mean, if we can save $1 here, we don't have to charge it in our tax bill to the taxpayers. I mean, it's very simple that way. And as far as we talk about the police, I mean, we have a number of license plate readers around town. I can't tell you how well that's done for us tracking down criminals, whether it be somebody going through town or somebody who happens to be unfortunately hitting one of our local businesses. We can find them in a couple of hours in many cases somewhere else through license
isn't
plate
it amazing
readers.
how all of our towns
They're all
have
hooked
them, and we
together,
all,
yeah.
our police
Share.
chiefs communicate, okay, we had this one at this time, did you catch it, did you catch it? And that's credit to the relationships that we've built over the years.
Yeah, especially in the trust in law enforcement. On one hand, we're certainly proud in our community. We have one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Illinois. And how do you get there? And certainly with the challenge of technology today, the tools that are out there to maintain it. However, there is a side view of Big Brother. And so how do you balance that? And those are challenges. What's best for the community, or what you think is most effective in that technology for the community, whether it's license plate readers or cameras at intersections. All that does, in fact, for a fact, help and solve crime in your community and potentially deter it if they know that you can't go into your town and do something that they're out there watching. So again, that's another balance, whether it's an ethical balance too, that we talk about, and how far we go.
Great. Thank you all so much. Any other closing thoughts there? Because I have questions from the audience. Okay.
It's like the phone call. Let's go.
That's right. That's right. Let's open it up. Okay, so let's start here. How do you ethically navigate partnerships with developers and businesses that promise tax revenue but may risk displacement or cultural loss? Anybody want to take that one?
Well, for our town, I'll be honest, very seldom do we use it, whether it's a retail sales tax rebate or whatever. We believe that if somebody wants to come to our town and develop, we want to encourage them to do it and as cleanly as possible. I've not really gotten into various levels of, have offered over the years a couple of times a Cook County tax abatement, 6C or whatever it is. And that's a good point. I mean, that whole conversation, certainly with mayors, because it comes to us first sometimes, about somebody walking in that room and saying, I want to do this or that. Ethics is the first shield that comes across my face. And whether or not that person's straight with me, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and the so-called promises they're going to make. Certainly if it's a business that, in fact, it may even be a restaurant. I'll be honest with you. I'll kind of have questions to them. Have you been in business a long time? Have you have experience in doing this? Because I'm going to tell you, certainly through my experience over the years, certain background or knowledge of what you're getting into, if you don't have it, you're not going to make it. And I'll be honest with them up front. I don't want anybody to come in that's going to fail. And a lot of times the initial conversations will direct you as to your response to them, trust in them, and certainly if, again, haven't been involved in retail sales tax rebates or anything like that, hoping that they're going to do well in your community.
Absolutely.
We
Go ahead.
actually had that exact situation in our town not that long ago, and we were completely transparent about it and spoke about it in a meeting, and it's online. But Francesca's, which has been in our community more than 20 years, needed to do a remodel. They were doing things to all their restaurants across the state, and they came to us and said, well, we're going to need a little help. And we end up structuring something where we gave them $100,000 over a period of time for their investment into their remodel, as did the landlord that they rent from. They personally invested $400,000. And our thought was, well, how long you been in business? Oh, they've been in business a long time. We know how much places of eating tax we get from them. The whole remodel was to flip tables faster on busy nights, which therefore increases your sales, your places of eating tax revenue, and will reimburse what we spent out very quickly. And so knowing what their investment was, and we are already seeing, because it only started, they were done by like June, July. So in 1 month, we can see there's an uptick
Yes.
in the places of eating tax that we're receiving. So we know that this choice was good. But when they came to me, there were many conversations about, all right, wait, does this make sense? Or, what if somebody else then comes to us? Well, it's a very individual situation, and making those decisions based on history and experience and things like that. And then I had to have one-on-one conversations, so we don't violate the Open Meetings Act, with each commissioner to talk about, why I thought this might be a good idea, and then take their questions. And it really is great when it's so collaborative, and you have such a great council group that you can really get in and think of every possibility of what could happen, and then make a decision together.
That's great. Yep.
Orland, as you can imagine, has done a couple of TIFs, and just about every developer that comes to Orland Park. We have the unique blessing of having 2 of our borders next to Will County. So business can come to Orland Park, or they could keep driving another mile or 2 south and cut their property tax bill by 50%, 50%. And so that's one of the constraints of what we're doing. And so we've done this pay for performance, right? You invest $1 million in your restaurant, your revenue goes up, we'll give you a share back of the sales tax to incentivize development, but they go first and then they get paid. TIFs are tougher, and you have to be able to switch lanes as you're thinking this through. Developers come in and they generally assume that municipalities aren't going to think it through. Well, wrong answer. We're going to go get really good lawyers, and we're going to go get independent outside financial consultants to really tumble the numbers to say, you're asking for $10 million, but we don't see your investment. We don't see a high enough chance at return, because the pesky question I always ask with these deals is, what do the people of Orland Park get, given that you're asking for public dollars? What do we get in return? Do you fill up the empty Sears, which has been dead for 6 years at the mall? Right? Are you going to fill in this vacant property? So you have to be a little hard-edged. You're negotiating a business deal, for lack of a better word. You just got to have a little edge to you. But you also want your lawyers and your financial consultants to help you think it through while you're answering the big question: does this benefit the town, given everything we're trying to accomplish? So you got to take a lot of factors into your decisions.
Great. Thank you. Switching gears a little bit, while, again, this is open to anyone, while not part of your responsibilities, as leaders interested in trust in government, could you comment on the ethics of gerrymandering?
Oh, there's a political conversation, there's a technical conversation.
They say it's outside our pay grade?
Yeah, above my pay grade. We're all Illinoisans here, right? You'd be hard-pressed to look at any map that's done by a legislative body in the state that isn't gerrymandered. The county board is gerrymandered. Municipalities are pretty simple. We serve, we care. That's kind of what we do. But there's a good presentation the other day by Ray LaHood, right, who served in the Obama administration, but is centrist Republican, and Bill Daley, who is, I'll call a centrist Democrat, for lack of a better word. And they're pushing a fair map amendment. Illinois would be better off if we got there, but it's a really tough hill politically to get enough people to agree, let's have an objective standard for how you draw these maps. Then you'd bring back people who are there for the purity of the contest of ideas. Should we do A or should we do B? Benefit my town, benefit my county, benefit my state. That's lost in a gerrymandered world. So I would love to see us collectively as a system get it right.
Great response.
Jerry, I know you have an opinion. Above my pay grade.
It is above my pay grade. It certainly, as local mayor, is one of the things, I've taken a position over from day one, is that elected official, certainly elected mayor, is there to serve our community. My ranking is no greater than what it is. My involvement is no greater than it is, other than on behalf of a local government. And that's why I've spent, even over the 45 years, to belong and to chair other organizations that help local governments. I try to stay out of the national politics. It's tough not to not hear it, but I think, again, we represent a community of citizens who we are elected to serve, and I try to keep in that lane.
I agree with you, and the benefit we have in Palos Park is our form of government. The commissioners don't represent an area. They represent the entire town. Unlike with like Alderman in Palos Heights, or Palos Hills, you have maps, and I don't have any of them. So I get it. Okay. Don't have to be bothered, so.
Great insights.
Ours is pretty straightforward. If you look at it every 10 years as far as population shifts, and quite frankly, with the exception of Westgate Valley, that's really the only major change we've had in our population shift. We're landlocked, so it's not going to affect our town.
Yeah, and even that, on our local maps, it's supposed to be one man, one vote as far as that goes. Over the years, populations change, but it's more so not to have like one ward or one district greater than the other, because that representative of that ward may have twice the number of people that he does with some other ward. So locally, that's the only way we try to balance that thing, that each of the wards or each of the districts are equal for the purpose of representation.
Orland Park is big enough geographically that when I make phone calls about road projects, it's to 6 different legislators, and we have 2 congressmen. And so the way it's been cut up, it just, the good news is you could potentially walk into Springfield with 6 people on your side. It takes longer to build consensus, or how the hell do you pay for 143rd Street?
Right.
But it's the gerrymandering thing, if you will, has a direct impact on how effective anybody on a council position or mayor can be for their town. It just adds a little bit of complexity, for lack of a better word.
Great insights. Thank you. Okay, I have one more. It seems like more of maybe a point of clarification directed to Mayor Bennett. You had mentioned incident email. Can you elaborate or explain a little bit more about that?
Incident meaning us sending an email out
Okay.
type thing? I don't know if that's the purpose of the question. Yeah, and again,
You mentioned that the Palos Hills does incident emails. Could you explain to us a little bit about the types of incidents that you would send an email?
let me correct myself. I didn't mean to say emails. The problem we have is trying to get everybody's email so we can send it out. What we do have is reverse 911 calls on a major incident. That's broadcast out to the city in general. That is certainly very helpful. That new technology that took place. But I would like to in the future be able to send an email to every resident in town.
Okay, sure. Some residents, you may not have their emails, but if they give you their emails, this reverse 911, is it going to like their phone as a text, or is it an email? I'm just curious.
It's neither. It's going as a call.
As a phone call?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Which is hopefully more alarming than somebody saying, "Oh, half hour later, oh, somebody sent me an email."
And what sort of incidents
It-
deserve a phone call in your town?
In general, it may start with weather. Second, it may be if we do have a police incident isolated in an area of town, or very seldom does that happen, that we may have an alert to be on the lookout, or et cetera. Certainly from a utility standpoint, water bills, water breaks, that type of thing.
Okay.
That type of thing. So it's not necessarily used a lot, but when we try to emphasize that when it is used, it is important that people get that information and certainly listen.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Again, the goal from a technology standpoint, is to wish I could get every household at least to have an email address to send to, but we have not reached that point. And again, it's a privacy thing too. People don't want to give up their email. There's
Phone numbers.
right. I can't. We can't do it. Although phone numbers are registered to 911 and or 911 reverse.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We are going to do a quick 30-second around the horn type of closing, or I'm going to ask each mayor the same question, and just, Mayor Milovich, you want to start, and we'll kind of go down this way? Okay, in 30 seconds or less, what advice would you give to someone entering public service who wants to stay ethically grounded?
Some people would say run, but no.
Fair?
You really,
Office.
you really need to be clear about your core values and your ethical standards, being honest. Remember why you got involved in public service, that you want to do good for the public and you want to be involved in your community. I think it's important to always be willing to constantly learn. Listen to everyone around you, maintain your integrity, but just have that open mind to hear everyone and give everyone that same respect. I think if you go with those principles, you'll have a great value system.
Great.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Yes, absolutely. Started off well and have covered most of it. Believe me, it's very difficult today when people look at politics, state or national, as far as I'm concerned, to want to get involved. But if you live in a community, you know about that community, you go to meetings and find out what's going on, you can see the best government is local government. It's open, it's honest, and it's an opportunity for a young person to really get involved if they are sincere about wanting to do something for the community. I wish we could encourage more and more people, young people, to get involved. It's not this disaster out there, certainly for local government anyway. So we would strongly encourage them, and we try to get them involved. Come to our meetings. Come talk to me.
Great, thank you.
I would say if you're thinking about getting involved, do it for the right reason. Okay, I mean, when I have people talk to me and they say, hey, maybe I want to run for something, or alderman or whatever. If I can tell, and I think I'm a good judge of character, if they're a self-promoter, I don't want them, quite frankly. I mean, I'm not looking for someone to promote themselves. They should be promoting the town and doing what's right for the people. I mean, that's what we're here for. It's not, this is not a single
glory.
issue. This is no glory. I mean, there's, it's not.
And this isn't a stepping stone to like.
No. There's a stone, right, that fell off, off the cliff. So, thank you.
I'm going to pick up a couple of the comments that were made by some of the other mayors, which is always recall why you're there. You're there to serve, and you are there to solve problems, right? If that becomes an anchor, I think it kind of helps, and that would be the advice as you go through time. And then, don't ever use your position to seek personal gain. And then the last piece, which is just simply functional, the rules are pretty clear. Follow the rules, know the law, keep learning. And then, there's and one of the other stabilizers, so those are the 3 points. One of the other stabilizers is people will talk to you if you're open to hearing from them.
Excellent answers. Of course, please.
One thing, you're talking about how to get young people involved, right? I am hosting an event, so a self-promotion, self-plug here. Oh, sorry. October 13th, it's a Women in Government panel, but it's open to everyone. It's at Moraine Valley, who's co-hosting it, and there are flyers back there, and it's on the board.
Oh, fantastic.
Please join us. The lunch is free. And it's really about explaining to, especially young people, but to everyone, how you can get involved, starting at local and moving your way through if you so desire. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Of course, absolutely. It sounds like a wonderful event. And thank you to all of our mayors, illustrious panel. Thank you so much. I'm going to pass it over to our president, Elaine.
I'll only be a second. Because college football is on. I'm Elaine Savage, I'm a co-president. I just want to thank everyone, the mayors and all the audience for making this a priority. Because it is so much easier to stay home and watch college football or do our errands or what on Saturday. So happy that you found this as being a priority. Also want to remind you that, this is being taped Channel 4. We'll be putting it on their YouTube channel. We'll have it on our library, on the league's website, Facebook page and everything, because I know I'm going to watch it again. There were so many great thoughts, and I probably didn't catch them all at once. So remember, you can do it. And as everyone said, trying to get some younger people involved, maybe say, watch this, you know, and you can see and get some ideas. So I do hope that you will share this, you know, friends, neighbors, about it, because it's a wonderful panel. And remember, these mayors did agree to do it. Not all the mayors that we contacted would come out. So I'm very happy to do it. Last, I want to say, I always want to say that the League is not just the League of Women Voters. I want to say we're the League of Informed Voters. So we have great programs coming up in October and November, and then following in the next year. And remember, we're nonpartisan, but we're not indifferent. Thank you for coming.